Hello and welcome to AGT Time. Again, here in your off-season coverage, I am Cody Mims, and with me, of course, is Cody Patterson.
Hi, everybody.
Today, as promised, we're talking about David and Leeman. Very exciting. They are not an accounting agency, even though they might sound like it. I was very excited to talk about David and Leeman for reasons which obviously we will get to, and this was also suggested to us by Darcy Line Winner 2017. So it's gonna be a great one. Um,
I,
so I
I can't
guess
wait to talk about this.
yeah. So do you want to give some general thoughts to start off, or should we just start with their first performance?
Well, I'll just say that after our talk on Wendy Liebman from the last time we talked, when we talked about Wendy Liebman, I wasn't too big on her. I am the complete opposite on these guys. These guys are fantastic.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I feel the same way. I really enjoyed seeing them this season and watching it again now. So their audition, they come in and they do this pressure phrenology stuff where they squeeze on Howie's head and they make him forget how to read. So just from the first moment, I thought they were so unbelievably slick. Their patter and whatever else is just it's so smooth and it's absolutely excellent.
No, you're right. And I didn't know what to expect from these guys. I didn't know anything about them going into this. So I was really confused about this pressure phrenology. But once we got into it, I was uh, I was uh, I was very impressed. I was laughing all over the place watching these guys.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this is very odd and entertaining. It was an interesting flavor to bring to the stage magic wise, but honestly, something about it makes me like uncomfortable in a way. Like, I don't know if they're actually doing something to make Howie forget how to read or what. I mean, I did think it was impressive how the camera showed their cards from his angle too. So I don't know what they've got going on here, but I like the whole idea of the phrenology stuff like creeps me out in a way. But it's not my favorite performance of theirs, of course, but it was pretty good, I'd say.
It was really good, and I thought originally that there was some trick to it. I'd never heard of this pressure phrenology. We've had a couple of weeks to look to examine this. I probably should have done a little more research on the pressure phrenology, but I thought it was a trick at first. I thought they were mixing up the words in front of Howie, and then when they turned them around to show the judges and had the judges read them, that they were normal words, but they put the camera on it, and from the camera angle, they still look like the normal words to Howie, but Howie could not pronounce them at all.
Yeah, the cards looked a little interesting. Like I wonder if it had something to do with like the distance or something, but it was impressive, I would say.
It was impressive. Now, the words that he tried to pronounce were things that had to do with him. So, comedian, germaphobe, and Howie Mandel. So, these aren't weird words. These are all normal words that Howie is very familiar with. I couldn't even begin to pronounce how he pronounced all of them, but they were just normal words. So for him to just totally kind of mix them up and think that they were random nonsense words was just incredible.
Yeah, so great audition from David and Leeman. Then in the next round in Judgment Week, they go straight through, so we won't get to see Heidi lose the ability to read.
No, we won't, because she did want to do it in the next round, but Heidi showed up at one of their stand up shows and told them that they're going straight through. Now, is this something new for this season, for season 9? Because I
Uh,
don't remember judges doing this.
yeah, me neither. Is that did they do it on in other acts too?
Well, they did it for other acts, yes. So as I've been watching the season, I've gone back and watched the season because I haven't been able to see the whole season before. But yes, they did it for I think like 6 or 7 acts, and they would just show up. You know, each judge would show up, I think, at 1 or 2 places, and just tell them they're going straight through to the live show. So it was like a form of golden buzzer. I know we have the golden buzzer in this season that's not really used like we're used to it in season 12. So this was kind of the filler for that. You know, they would just show up at their, I think one of the dance places and a couple of the singers, they would just show up and just say, hey, you're going straight through to the live show. So I didn't know if this was something we'd seen before. I don't remember seeing it before, but I kind of liked it.
I had completely forgotten that that was a thing, but that's kind of cool. I would like to have the judges show up on my show.
Right, and it kind of replaces the golden buzzer, so it gave them, the one of my problems with the golden buzzer is that they just pick an act and then without seeing the rest of the acts and send them straight through. Well, this gave them the opportunity to see all of the acts in the auditions, re-examine them, and then say, okay, we want these particular ones to go through. So I kind of like this. I wish they'd bring it back.
Yeah, yeah, it's a neat thing. So after that, we do see them in quarterfinals where they do a trick involving ripping books. They pass out the judges' books and mix them up, and they predict the words. This is the camera ready one, right?
This is the camera ready one, right? They took a selfie with the judges at the beginning, and then they handed out each of their own books that they've written or had written about them. And I think they kind of mixed them up. So, I think Howard got Howie's book or however it was. And then they would rip pages out and then rip words out from that page. And then Howie almost blew the reveal.
Yeah. Do they go like, "Hey, is there a bigger word on that page?"
Yes, the trick was say the largest word on the page, and I didn't write down what the actual word that Howie picked, but it wasn't very long. And they were saying, "Are you sure there's not a bigger word? Look again, see if there's a bigger word on there." And then he found the camera ready. So I'm not for sure if camera ready was one word in the book or if it was 2 words. But there's there's some speculation out there that that they were able to see right through this act, and I went back and watched it a couple more times, and yeah, they almost blew it, and you can easily see them pretty much reveal this trick.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't gotten as caught up in that moment, but there's definitely a lot to unpack there. But I thought this was a good performance. We got Mel charging her phone again. That was classic. And I love that they changed the name tags again. After doing that in auditions, they made it part of the trick. So I was smiling throughout this whole thing. I really liked it.
I did too. It was fun until I kind of saw that it was they almost messed it up, and that you could really tell what the trick was, and them almost screwing it up and revealing it.
Yeah. But then after that, in the semifinals, uh, oh man. So they did this trick where they had a bunch of nails in some bags, and they had to smash them, and they had to smash one without the nail. I guess the nail was only in one, but anyway, man, I love this performance. I think about this performance to this day. This is the best magician's patter slash humorous performance that I have ever seen. I think it's so funny and planned out just to the second. I absolutely love this performance. What did you think of it?
This was a great performance, and you get classic Nick. We miss Nick, and watching things like this, you see why we miss Nick. They had, I think you're right, 5 bags lined up, and letters A through E, and they would kind of go through and explain. People don't pick this bag because of this reason, or this bag because of this reason. And then they had the judges each pick a bag. I think Howard picked the D bag, which was really funny. Mel B picked the B bag, which kind of makes sense. But then the ones that were left over were the C and the E bag. And they had Nick hold his hand over, and Nick's just going nuts because he's afraid he's going to get impaled by a giant spike. So yeah, this was absolutely entertaining. Nick adds a lot to it, but these guys they stepped it up from the quarterfinals round, and I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, this was very slick and just unbelievably kinetic. Like I love all the moments of them going back and forth and saying things in unison. Like I think they had their hands over the bag and they asked Heidi like, "Do you want to stay or switch?" And she says switch, and at the same time they both say switch, and then they
Yeah,
move their hand.
right.
It's so I've seen this many times by now. It's very good. So I absolutely love this one. Uh, that's all I have to say about it. What about you?
Now, Howard said that he has seen this trick several times. Probably not from them, probably from other magicians. I don't know if I'd ever seen anything like this before. It seemed like it's the first time for me. I may have, I just don't recall. But these guys obviously bring it to a new level. They're as I was watching them, they almost reminded me a little bit of the passing zone, except with magic and not juggling. But just
Yeah, me
their
too.
just yeah, just the way that they interact with each other, their cohesiveness. I'm not surprised that they've been able to do some great things.
Right, I agree. I have seen this trick before, but like this didn't even remind me of it at all. It's just on a complete other level. And yeah, I think there's points and comparisons to be made, especially comparing this to their next performance, their top 12 performance,
Yeah,
which I would say,
yeah. Before we get in the top 12, can we go over results real quick?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So in the results, we didn't have this in quarterfinals, but we had the Snapple save. So we don't have the Duncan save like we had in season 12. We've got the Snapple save, and I was a little surprised to see them in there with Ariel Animation and Marek Justine.
It's an injustice.
It is. From the crowd reaction, it seemed like Mara Justine is kind of a fan favorite, and I haven't been able to see much of her, and I didn't know if you kind of had that vibe or if you remember much from her or how she
I don't
compared to the David and Leeman.
I don't remember much of her at all, honestly.
Okay, okay. She just seemed like she was really big with the crowd. Just another kid singer. Apparently, she's got a strong voice, but I didn't know if you remember how she compared to David and Leeman.
Yeah, I don't know, but
Okay.
did was there a judge's choice involved?
There was, but Mary Justine got the Snapple save, so obviously she's big with
Hmm.
America as well. So it did go down to a judge pick, and it went to Heidi, Howie, and Howard. All went with David and Leeman. So that's no surprise.
Okay, cool. So yeah, after that we saw their top 12 performance. They had a giant scratch off ticket, and they did some number predictions, and you know, I feel like this was a lot bigger than their last one. It's sort of an upper echelon trick, I guess, that I might say is grasping at Franco status, but I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't think it was as just ridiculously perfect as their execution on the last one, but I think it's interesting to see them try this kind of trick when they can, you know, pull off this nipple stuff so well.
Agreed. I like this one, but I think their semifinals one was much better. It seemed much more entertaining. Howard. They had Howard scratch off the numbers that all of the judges had picked to put up on their giant scratch off, and they did get off by one. Then they had to take off their jacket. Apparently, if they were off by one, they had to turn over their jacket. They took it off, and they said that Howard would be off by one. Um, but it was good. It was still funny, just not as smooth and not as entertaining as the semifinals one.
Yeah, I think the off by one thing actually detracted from this trick. I think it would have been better if they had just played it straight through. Just when it felt like it was getting good, it's like I don't know. I don't know what the point of these like fake outs is.
Right. It reminded me a lot of when John Dornbos would do something and nothing would happen, and then he would say, "Now, wouldn't it be cool if that actually did happen?" It reminded me very much of that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fine. I don't know if it would have added anything to me if they'd actually been right about all the numbers.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of a similar vibe as the Wouldn't It Have Been Cool thing. I guess it's kind of like the inverse. I don't know. Their intro for this performance was also very funny. They were in the park with their celebrity status not being recognized by anyone.
That was funny, and they would even wear shirts that say David and Leeman were on AGT, and I think one of a girl would come up and say, "Hey, can you? Here's my number. Would you give it to Miguel?" I thought, and or would you did you take a picture, and then a couple would hand them the camera to take a picture of just the couple. So yeah, this was really funny.
Yeah. So I like that too. I guess just to kind of wrap this up, obviously there's another high profile magician this season. How would you compare these ads?
Well, you kind of mentioned that because in the results for the top 12, he was actually among the three. Matt Franco, Mike Super, and David and Leeman were in the same group that only one of them was going to go through. So I thought that was a pretty strong lineup to have all three of them. And my opinion, it was strong, but apparently two of them had to go home. So there must have been some other acts out there that people felt were much better than what David and Lehman did in the top 12.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would have put David and Leeman in my top six though. But how much of Matt Franco have you seen by now?
I have seen his quarterfinal, and I may have even seen his semifinal. I saw the one where he did the card trick. Well, he does, that's pretty much all he does is card tricks. But he lights. I think he picked like 10 of diamonds, and then he lit like a giant board on fire, and it ended up being the something of spades. I saw that one. I can't remember if I've seen the one after that or not.
Yeah, I feel like he's a lot better than I remember him. Which I guess we'll get into when we cover him more in depth. But from reading about what he did this season, I feel like it's just some crazy impressive stuff that I think is a lot more magically impressive than what David and Lehman do. Um, and I mean, his patterns certainly not bad either. Like he told that whole story in his audition. So very tough magician competition for David and Lehman, but I'm glad that we are going over them again, I guess.
No, I have enjoyed this, and I don't think David and Lehman's magic is the best magic, but that the way that they interact as a team, I think makes them a really good performance. I think they're probably great live. The way that their banter goes back and forth, the way they interact, that they bounce things off each other. I think that's their strong point, and the magic is more secondary.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's a good way to look at it. Um, so yeah, do you have any final thoughts on these characters?
Well, just that, if anyone's interested, their Twitter is at David and Leeman. They do have a Facebook page. They did appear on season 3 of Fool Us with Penn and Teller and did not fool them.
Oh
So,
no.
yeah, so that one's out there somewhere if anyone wants to go watch it. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I poked around their Facebook page and their website, and they don't really seem to post frequently. Finding out events that they where they perform is a little tricky. It doesn't seem like they post where they're going to be performing or when they're going to be performing. So that was a little cumbersome to kind of figure out. The last event they had listed was in July, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. I don't. Their website's very nice looking. It's not very informative. They have an Instagram listed that doesn't really work anymore. So it was kind of really hard to figure out what they're doing right this moment as we record this. It seems like they're still together, but I couldn't find out what they're doing.
Well, that's good. I'm glad they're still out there as a team. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they couldn't fool Penn and Teller, but I bet they made him laugh.
I hope so. This was a
Yeah.
great act to pick. I'm glad you picked them to review. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Oh, thank you. I enjoy this too. I've been wanting to talk about that semifinals act for like 4 years now.
Yeah, when you first mentioned David and Leeman, I had no idea that it was a magic comedy duo. I thought it was completely something else.
Yeah. So next time the act that we are going to talk about is Christian Stoinev. And he is an acrobat kind of guy, I guess. There's a dog involved. It's a good time. Uh, so that's gonna be we don't really know when because it's getting to be holiday slash birthday season for us. So yeah, it could be like 3 weeks from now or maybe
Yeah,
sooner. So
we'll look at 1st of December, somewhere around December. We'll probably be getting back to this.
yeah, so stick with us, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, subscribe, comment. We're on YouTube, so we'd love your comments down below. We'll reply back the best we can, but let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought about David and Leeman.
Yes, absolutely. agtcast@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. And other than that, we'll catch you guys later.
See you later.